Everyone, it's Mrs. Edwards. I hope you're having a wonderful Easter holiday. Thank you for taking just 10 minutes out to watch this video and complete a really short activity on calculating percentages of amounts. There's different ways you can calculate percentages, but let's think about if you wanted to calculate 50%. We know that 50 add 50 is 100, so you're dividing 100 by 2. If you needed to find 50% of a number, it's the same as finding half. You could divide by 2. If you need to find 25%, this is the same as dividing by 4. It's the equivalent to finding a quarter, so you would take the amount and divide it by 4. And to find 10%, you would need to take the amount and divide it by 10. That's because 10 times 10 equals 100. To find 5%, you could find 10% and half it, because half of 10 is 5. Find 1%, you know that 1 times 100 is 100, you could and divide by 100. If you then needed to find 30%, we can use these facts to help us. If you knew your total amount, you could take the whole and divide it by 10 to find 10%, and then what would you times it by to find 30%? You would times your answer by 3. This is the first method we're going to look at today. If you need to find 70%, you could use 10% as a fact and then times that answer by 7. And if you needed to find a percentage which had a multiple of 5, you could maybe find 10% first. Timesing that by 5 would give you 50%, and then you could add on 5%. And we know that 10% divided by 2 is 5%. If we wanted to calculate 40%, we could calculate 10% first by dividing the number by 10 and multiplying this by 4. Let's have a look at an example. If we wanted to find 40% of 120, we could find 10% by dividing that number by 10, which would give us 12, and then times in 12, 48. The answer is 48. 40% of 120 is 48. We can also use a part whole approach, and we can just write this down in a different way. We can partition this number into 50, 10 and 5. To find 50%, you would divide your number by 2. So if we needed to find 65% of 300, divided by 2 to find 50%, which is 150. You could then find 10% and remember to start with your original amount and divide 300 by 10, which will give us 30. And then to find 5%, divide 10% to amount by 2. You can see that the columns would then be 5 ones, 9 tens, and 100, 195. You can also use this method, and some children in my class like this method. They prefer this method where there's just 2 steps. If you needed to find 67% of a number as an example, you can find 1% of that number, and then once you have that answer, you can multiply that by 67 because that's the percentage you're trying to find. Let's look at this in an example. If we needed to calculate 67% of 420, we would need to calculate 1% first. To do this, we would divide 420 by 100. The answer would be 4.2 for 1%. If that's just 1%, to calculate 67%, we would need to multiply that by 67. So we'd need to use short multiplication. When we multiply using decimals, you must remember to line up your decimal points. So we're going to multiply those top digits, 4.2, by 7. 7 times 2 is 14, and the decimal points are there lined up. And 7 times 4 is 28, add 1, 29. Remember to use your placeholder on the next line because now we're going to multiply those top digits by 6. So we have 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 4 is 24, add 1. And remember that when you add them up, you need to make sure you're looking at the columns again. 4 add 0 is 4, 9 add 2 is 11, 2 add 5 is 7, add 1 underneath the line is 8, and 2 hundredths. So we've looked at 3 different methods today. We looked at calculating 10% first and using that fact to find percentages which were multiples of 10. And you can also use it to find multiples of 5, remembering that if you needed to calculate 5%, you would find 10% first, and then you can divide that answer by 2. You can also use the part-whole model. We looked at sensible parts like 50% and 25% to then find 75% altogether, remembering to add up those parts. And then we finally looked at calculating 1% first and multiplying that answer by the percentage you need to find. Just a quick reminder, in red you can see that 35% of 320 can also be written as 35% times 320. This means the same thing. Once you've calculated your answer, make sure you check that your answer is smaller than the amount you started with. This is because 100% is the whole number, so if you're finding a percentage less than 100%, your answer will also need to be smaller than the whole amount. The task is on the left, so you can see what it looks like. It's percentages or amounts, and if you need to go back into the video to have a quick reminder of any of the methods, that's not a problem. I hope you have a fantastic Easter holiday and well done for completing this task. Good luck!